She recently led the development and implementation of the World Trade Organization Standards and Trade Development Facility funded project preparation grant, piloting the use of good regulatory practices in agriculture and fisheries. So ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Ms. Mandirigma.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for the great introduction. It's nice to be invited in this very academic forum. So I hope that through this presentation, you will get to know more about our agency. I heard that ma'am is a member of our technical working group. So hopefully will help me in answering some of the questions since you have been involved in standards development. So again, I am Grace from the Bureau of Agriculture and Fisheries Standards. So I am not so sure if you have heard of our agency. We were involved previously with NASD when we were trying to develop, if you have heard of Dr. Designate, the senior one, not the younger one. We used to work with NASD when we were developing the standard for the virgin coconut oil. Di ba yun ang stream ng advocacy ng dalawang Dr. Designate. So we work in collaboration with the Philippine Coconut Authority and the two experts on coconut together with Dr. Connie Lizada, who was our previous director. So those were our experience in the development of Philippine national standards together with NASD academicians and scientists. No? So yung Bureau of Agriculture and Fisheries Standard, this is a relatively new bureau under the Department of Agriculture. We were created in 1997, so relatively bata pa, no? Kaya medyo bata po yung kaharap nyo ngayon. No? Kung mga taga-Bureau of Plant Industry po, hindi ko na ho sasabihin kung bata-bata o medyo hindi na masyadong bata yung makakasama. Since the Department Act of Agriculture emanated from the Bureau of Plant Industry and the Bureau of Animal Industry. So again, kami po ay Standards Development Agency. So kami po ay kapatid, kapamilya, depende po kung anong channel kayo nanonood, ng Bureau of Philippine Standards. Tama ba? Kasi nung unang panahon po, Bureau of Product Standards sila eh. Di ho ba? Kung naalala nyo, kami po ay Bureau of Agriculture and Fisheries Product Standards din nung unang panahon. And isa pa po namin kapatid is the Food and Drug Administration. And it was called previously as, anong pangalan nila dati? BFAD. So hanggang ngayon po, BFAD po yung tawag ko sa kanila. Kasi yun din po ako nasanay. So on this aspect, we would like to introduce to you the role of the Bureau of Agriculture and Fisheries Standards in the national quality infrastructure as one of the standards development organization here in the Philippines. So this is going to be the outline of my presentation. Roughly, we will present to you po a snapshot. Ano nga ba ang national quality infrastructure? Engineer have presented it, si Director Nani have presented it. Marami na pong nag-present, but I would like to share with you one more photo of a national quality infrastructure and how it develops, how it comes into place sa national, sa global competitiveness ng ating mga products and industries. We'd like also to provide you our mandates, introduce to you our mandates and functions, our products and services, and hopefully we'll provide you some key takeaways. No? Hopefully po hindi ko po hahabaan ng konti kasi medyo mahirap pong kalaban ng lunch kapag medyo last speaker ka malapit sa tanghalian. So this one, I got this presentation po, this very nice figure from UNIDO. In a snapshot, this is how we would like to see quality infrastructure. You will see all the actors, how one actor is very important to the other. So para lang siyang diba, yung pag kumakain kayo sa social na restaurant, meron siyang structure. Unahin mo na ba, salad ba o soup? Sanay po kasi kung main course agad. So, diba? So ganun siya. It's like you have a changing plate. At the bottom of it, and the people that would really like to serve are the consumers. Kanina po, there was a question, how does quality infrastructure relate to consumer? At the end of the day, all of the things that we do, standards, accreditation, metrology, all caters to our consumer, to make them aware and to build their capacity on getting the products and services na of quality. So you will see also po, yung quality infrastructure services, the quality infrastructure institution, they work closely with the enterprise because at the end of the day, sila po yung affected noong mga standards na ginagawa, ng accreditation, metrology, and mga testing natin ginagawa. If you look at this picture, it's a very nice picture really kasi nakikita po na at the heart of it is your regulatory framework, your quality policy. Without that framework, we will be working in all directions. Di ba kaya siguro yun yung matagal na pinaglalaban mo ng BTI? Asan na yung batas ng National Quality Infrastructure? Because if you look at this very picture, at the heart of all the circle is your framework. It will give you the guiding principle, it will give you the structure on how all of this institution, how all of these activities will benefit our consumer and our enterprises. So again, I would like to drive to the point that the national quality infrastructure, the goal po really is to make our country or to increase our country's ability to participate in the global market. Bakit? Kasi hindi naman mo tayo nakikita ng kausap natin sa ibang bansa. Ang nakikita nila ay produkto natin. So we would like as much as possible our products and services comply with the standards. Yung mga testings ay galing po sa accredited laboratory services na accredited ni PAB. And siguro yung mga measurements, standardized yung measurement. So hindi yung measurement nung company A is different from company B because we are abiding by the same measurement, standard measurement. So again, pag titignan niyo po, tatlo po kami magkakapatid and this is our bureau. We are the Bureau of Agriculture and Fisheries. Sabi ni Ma'am, ang dami nang gumagawa ng standard, nahihilo na po kami. If you will look po at the Consumer Act of the Philippines, there are only 3 departments. You have the DTI, you have the Department of Agriculture, and you have the DOH. And it is very clear in the Consumer Act of the Philippines, which is we are revising now. Siyempre pa, di ba, to be one with a time. Na tatlo lang din po ang ahensya na sinabi niya. You have the Department of Trade and Industry, the Bureau of Philippine Standard, you have the FDA for the DOH, and you have the BAFS for the Department of Agriculture. So those are the 3 standards agencies po. Eh paano nyo nalalaman anong gagawin nyo? How do you ensure that there is no overlap? I will explain po later. So under the Department of Agriculture po, kami po, yung Standards Development Agency. But si Sir po ng BPS kanina, minention po ni Director na nag-accredit din sila, di ba, ng PCA. And nag-accredit din po sila ng NTS Standards Organization. Very definite po yung nakasulat po doon sa MOU. Pero po yung BAFS as a standards agency of the Department of Agriculture is provided for in a law under the Agriculture and Fisheries Modernization Act of 1997. So we were the only bureau created by this law to ensure that all the standards development functions, di ho ba sa DA, hindi ho ba kayo nagtataka sa DA, magsabi ka ng commodity, meron po kami ahensya, di ho ba? So sugar, anong ahensya? Sugar Regulatory Authority. O magsabi ka ng coconut, Philippine Coconut Authority. O tobacco, di ba? Those are commodity, yung pong ahensya ng DA, very commodity specific. And in the previous years, all these agencies have standards development functions. So with the 1997 AFMA, kinonsolidate na po lahat ng standards development function nitong mga ahensya nito. There was a mention before that BRIFAR, they develop standards. So with the AFMA, that standards development function was transferred to BAFS. Kaya po pagpapansinin niyo po yung standards that we develop, we have fishery standards, but it does not necessarily mean that the standards will emanate from nothing. It can also emanate from the documents, researches, conducted by BFAR as the competent authority on fisheries. So that's how we work together. We do not work in silo, we work together. So, ang BAFS po, ewan ko fortunately ba or unfortunately, we also have regulatory function like BPS. Pero the regulatory function that we have is only on organic agriculture, based po sa Organic Act of 2010. Noong unang panahon po, nung AFMA, we were only a standards development agency, pure and simple. Nung dumating po si AFMEC, yung Agri-Fishery Machinery Law, natanggal po yung P, kasi ang agri-machinery po is not a product, it's an input to production. So we are now called Bureau of Agriculture and Fishery Standards because we are also mandated to develop standards for agri-machinery. Ano ho bang ibig sabihin? Yung nakikita niyo pong mga traktora, yung nakikita niyo pong solar-powered irrigation, I hope you have heard of these things before. We develop standards for that, method of test and specification of those agri-machinery products. And then came the halal law. We were also mandated to develop standards for halal. And organic law, we were mandated to not only develop standards for organic, but we were given a regulatory function to accredit. O, diba sabi na, may PAB na, nag-accredit ka rin. So ayaw man namin sa gusto, yun po na ibigay sa aming mandato ng batas. And it was not removed from us, even with the revision of the Republic Act 10068. So nag-a-accredit po kami, but rest assured that our accreditation function on organic agriculture, we work closely po with BAB, being the Accreditation Bureau and the only Accreditation Bureau of the Philippines. So yun pong aming rules and procedure for accreditation, for certification. We work closely po with PPS, with PAB on the conduct of those inspections. So again, ito po yung dalawang mandato namin na medyo very distinct. So we developed Philippine National Standard for Agri-Fishery products, including organic agriculture, halal, machinery, and infrastructure. So you have heard of farm-to-market route. Tama po ba? Narinig nyo na po yun. Di ba yun yung maraming farm to my resort route, di ba? In some cases. So even our bureau po, we develop standards for farm-to-market route. So ano bang specification ng isang farm-to-market route? So kasama po siya sa ginagawa namin. Actually, ma'am, yung questions nyo, sinulat ko. So hopefully I can answer that one by one. So again, we are the competent authority for organic agriculture. So sabi nyo, dami-dami niyang standard, para saan? Ito po yung sagot, ma'am. The Philippine National that we developed, sabi nga po ni Sir, tama naman po. By virtue of the World Trade Organizational Technical Barriers to Trade Agreement, all standards are voluntary in nature. They will only become mandatory if they are cited in a technical regulation. So yun po yung instrumento that will mandate the implementation of a voluntary standard. So nagiging na siya mandatory standard. So kailangan po, masite siya sa isang technical regulation. So halimbawa po sa fishery, masite siya sa Fisheries Administrative Order that this Fishery Administrative Order adopts PNS number 10 series of 2023 for good agriculture practices. So that means all farms registering for BFAR, you have to follow that specific standards before you can get your registration. So doon po nagkakaroon ng ngipin yung standard natin. So hindi po lahat mamaya makita nyo, ilan na ba? Ilan na bang nagawa nyo? Ilan na ba yung naging technical regulation? So again, our PNS is also being used by the regional field offices and our partner agencies that again, ang DA po may mga research agencies. May training agencies po kami. And we were informed that our research agencies po under the DA, they use the PNS as basis for research. Like halimbawa po, Philippine Carabao Center. You have heard of PCC, di ba? We have PNS po kasi related to milk, to water buffalo. So they use that standards as basis for research. You have heard of Agricultural Training Institute. Hopefully, naalala nyo na away kami before. Ang DA, training na lang ng training. Meron din ang DA, research na lang ng research. So yung ATI po, they use also the Philippine National Standard to train the farmers. Why? Because through training the farmers of the content of the Philippine National Standard, we are assured na tumataas po yung kalidad ng farming. Therefore, nagiging safe yung pagkain, nagiging globally competitive po impact yung mga production nila, yung produce rather. So, these are the uses of the Philippine National Standards that we develop for the agriculture and fisheries sector. Again, these are our functions. We have standards development, we have standards promotion, and we have standards research. So hopefully po, iba project po ito sa NASD. So hopefully po, we can collaborate on further strengthening the scientific basis of the standards. So marami naman po kayong research. So hopefully we can collaborate po on that. Lalo na po yung food safety related. No po? And again, we have regulatory functions. So ito po yung mga products and services namin. Ang banner product po namin is the standards. Then we have certification and accreditation for organic agriculture. And we have knowledge products and learning and development activities. So yung standards po, ipakilala ko lang sa inyo. Nakita na nyo ito, I think, several times, yung definition ng standard. Marami pong definition. You have codex definition of a standard, you have an ISO definition of a standard, and you have a TBE definition of a standard. Isa lang po, marami naman po silang definition, pero may commonality po siya. Ang standard is ang dokumento na ginawa through a consensus na na-approve ng isang approving authority, and ginawa siya to ensure na magiging generic yung implementation and to achieve a certain purpose, to have a certain degree of order. But what is different po among the three? In WTO TBT agreement, there was this colatilla that standards are voluntary in nature that you cannot find in an ISO definition of a standard. So doon po siya nakikita sa WTO TBT agreement. So again, we abide by the 6 principles of standards development. Transparency. It's open to everyone. May public consultation. Pag hindi po kayo nag-attend, wala na po kami magawa. Tapos minsan pa may narinig kami, nagdadap yung standard, hindi man lang ako na-inform. Hindi ho kayo subscriber ng Facebook page namin. You have to subscribe to us para po, nandun po lahat yung announcement. Kailangan po merong public consultation because we do conduct at least 2 public consultation. So openness. Open po siya. You can participate at any point in the standards development. Mamaya po papakita ko yung phases. Impartiality and consensus. Wala pong isang nananaig na posisyon. Remember, we develop standards through a consensus. If there is a very strong opposition on a provision of the standard, it is very difficult to adopt. Kailangan po nag-agree lahat doon sa particular provision ng standard. Effectiveness and relevance, it has to be market-driven. It has to respond to a certain regulatory purpose. Ba't ka gagawa ng standard kung hindi gagamitin for regulation? Sayang ang pera, sayang ang oras, sayang yung galing ng mga technical working group namin, sayang yung oras. Coherence. Ito na po yung sinasabi natin na kaya po malinaw ang delineation ng mga SDOs or Standard Development Organizations because we do not want to duplicate anything. Okay, so it's very expensive. It's a very expensive process. Mukha lang po hindi, pero it is a very expensive process. So kaya po, halimbawa, kung ginagawa na po ng halimbawa po, yung sa Food Safety Act, before we were doing the standards for virgin coconut oil, kasi kahit process siya, pero agricultural commodity kasi siya eh. Iba produkto ng niyog. Sinabi ni Food Safety Act, hindi na sa inyo DA ang processed commodity, KFDA na siya. So therefore, I conclude, yung revision ng VCO, hindi na po kami ang gagawa. Si FDA na po. That means there is a very clear delineation in all the mandates, in all the law, ano lang ang tatrabahuhin ng DA, ano ang tatrabahuhin po ni PFAD or FDA at saka ni BPS. Okay? Yung PNS po, again, it is developed by a standard development organization. As BAFS po, we submit everything po to BPS kasi sila po ang National Standardization Body. Tama naman po, sir. Hindi naman po sila repository lang kasi sila po talagang nagpo-promulgate. Although it is approved by the Secretary of the Department of Agriculture, we have to submit po to BPS because sa kanila po yung ending. Akala po siguro nagiging repository, sir, kasi binibigay nyo sa amin yung kopya na ng mismong standard with everything else na naka-format po sa BPS. But they are really the last step in the standards development process. Okay? Sila po nagre-register, nag-number, and kasi po, through the registration and the numbering, yun po yung, to our belief, that is essentially the promulgation of the standard as a Philippine national standard. Okay? Again, ito po yung mga paulit-ulit po kami para hindi tayo malito. We have BAFS as the SDO for primary and post-harvest food. So kung yun pong isda, lagyan nyo na ng asin, hindi na po amin yun. Okay, FDA na po yun. Kasi anything po that you add to something na fresh, hindi na po sa atin. So halimbawa po yung niyog, kung siya ay buko, sa ADA po yun. Isa-standardized po siya ni BAFS. Pero kung niyog po, gagawin nyo ng desiccated coconut, gagawin na rin yung VCO, kay DFAT na po siya. Kasi base po sa batas, ang SDO po for processed food ay kay FDA po. Okay? Yung pong industrial products, kay BPS po yun. So doon din po kami nagkakaroon ng clear delineation, lalo na po sa usapan ng rubber. So kung po siya ay rubber na latex, sa box po siya. Pero kung rubber po siya, nasa gulong na, hindi na po sa amin yun. Kay BPS na po siya. Okay? Ang hirap po kasi parang hindi na po agriculture yung gulong. Kasama pa po, medyo nalilito rin kami. Pag fiber, di ba? Yung mismong hibla, hibla ng pinya, hibla ng abaka, sa amin po yun. Kami po ang nagsastandard by BAFS po yun. Pero kung yung pinya, gawin nyo ng barong, hindi na po sa amin. Another agency na po siya. Okay? Malinaw po sana yung delineation. Again, this is the standards development process. You will see that it is open, it is transparent, and we, as much as possible, kung available po yung international standards, sabi nga po ni Sir, binibigis namin siya sa international. Why reinvent the wheel? Pinag-isipan na nila yun eh. Ginawa nila na yun. We need to review and make sure that the provisions that we adopt are those that are applicable to the Philippine setting. Diba ba? Oh, kasi baka mamaya masyado kayo faluting, hindi na natin kaya, ma'am, diba? What is good about the standards, lalo na po kung codes of practice, it is principle-based. So kung ang tina-target ng prinsipyo na yun ay to ensure food safety, kaya po natin siyang kung ano ba tawag, acclimatize, is that the right word? I-adapt sa Philippine setting. Kasi remember, ay 2 minutes na lang, sorry. Gutom na po kayo. Okay, sige po. Bilisan ko na lang po. Sabi ni Ma'am 20 minutes lang. But then again, it's very nice po that you post those questions. At least I have a guide where to put emphasis on my presentation. So we based our standards with international standards if they are available, and to regional standards if these are available. And if these are not available, kung may risk assessment po ang NASD na mga published documents, we can get those and base the standards on those risk assessment studies. Why? To ensure po that there is minimal friction during the exportation of our products kasi nga po based on international standards, and para po ma-address yung food safety aspect for food safety standards. So these are the standards that we have developed so far since 2003. So may mga standards na po kami medyo matanda na, 2004. And the industry, naalala niyo po sa news, lumabas na yung durian. We are already exporting durian to China.
Yes.
We were already told po by the stakeholders that we need to update the standard kasi the standard is 2004 pa. So medyo matanda na po ng konti. So you see, these are how we use the standards to make our products globally competitive and to penetrate international markets. So these are the standards that we have developed so far based on sector. Lagi pong nangunguna ang crops, medyo nadudulo po ng konti yung halal. So ganito po yung categorization ng standards na na-develop namin. And again, the standards are used as basis for technical regulation. I would like to emphasize po on the food safety regulation, because on Food Safety Act, there is a provision that all food safety standards are going to be mandatory. They have to be adopted into a technical regulation. That is why po yung bureau namin, we released po or recommended a department order at the Department of Agriculture to provide guidance to sa food safety regulatory agencies and to make them aware that all food safety PNS have to be translated, adopted into a technical regulation. Wala pong 75% lang. Ang sabi po sa batas, all. Okay? So we also use the standards as basis for knowledge products and learning and development activities. So tanong niyo, ma'am, ilan na ba? Ginamit ba? So ito po, out of the 361 so far, mama, this is a moving number kasi hindi pa po namin natatapos yung study itself. So as of November 7 po, we have 121 out of the 361 PNS that are adopted into technical regulation by the DA agencies. You might still medyo konti lang. So again, hindi pa po ito yung kabuuan kasi some of the agencies po, they do not still provide us the information. So but these are what we have gathered so far. Remember, you have 121 food safety standards, and out of the 100 standards po, out of the 121 PNS that are adopted to technical regulation, we are happy to say po that 40% of which are food safety related PNS. And 81 po ay quality related. Bakit ang dami? Kasi ang BAFS po, which is the Agri-Machinery Bureau, they adopt po the PNS on agri-machinery. Why? Because that standard is used as a basis for procurement of the agri-machinery. So, kailangan po na lang i-adopt into technical regulation. So again, for organic agriculture of certification and accreditation function, and we work closely with BAP on this. Kasi sila po ang may expertise dun sa mga witness audit, office audit, and we conduct this in tandem with them. Because we do certify and accredit, third-party certification systems. So ito po yung mga private entity. So pag tumingin po kayo sa mga pakete nyo ng organic agriculture products, you look for the seal ng organic agriculture certification body. Most of those po ay private or third party. So nag-accredit po ang BAFS, and we also accredit participatory guarantee system. So this is the certification system implemented by farmer groups. So nag-accredit din po kami. And these are the regulation functions of BAFS, and again, we work closely with BAB on the matters of conformity assessment procedures. So we were also happy to share with you, during the pandemic po, we adopted ISO standard for remote audit. So we were also able to present that in an international forum to say that the Philippines is doing also remote audit based on the ISO standard. So again, ito po yung mga products, mga services and products namin. We also do impact evaluation. You have 361 standards. Paano ba siya ginagamit? Does it provide the effect na tina-target natin at inisip natin nung ginawa natin yung standard? We are doing that for good agricultural practices, good animal husbandry practices, and good aquaculture practices, impact evaluation studies. So again, in summary, the national quality infrastructure and its various institutions, particularly po, medyo magkukonting standards development, kasi po yung agency ko. Its standards, that standardization component ensure alignment with international best practices and principles so that the relevant stakeholders implement standards consistently and in accordance with world trade rules, enabling these stakeholders to participate in global trade. BAFS is the standards development organization mandated by AFMA to develop standards for the agri-fishery sector, including machineries. And our partner agencies use these standards to issue regulation, develop knowledge products, and conduct learning and development activities. And the BAFS, even if it's a standards development agency, we have an accreditation function by virtue of RA 10068 and RA 11511 or the Organic Agriculture Act. Yun lamang po at maraming salamat. Hopefully po, mas nakilala ninyo yung ahensya namin.
Maraming salamat, Ms. Mandirigma. So, I will request the audience to please bear with us. We'll have